Hello, good morning children. Today in this video I am going to explain class 8 history 6 chapter colonialism on the city, the story of an imperial capital. So in the previous video you have learnt when people rebel 1857 and after, how the people participated in the rebellion, what situations that led to rebellion, and how the British government suppressed that rebellion. Everything you have learnt, and what the policies it had brought to change the mindset of the people also mentioned in that lesson. Now let's see how was the colonialism during the city, in the city side. What happened to cities under colonial rule? You have seen how life in the countryside changed after the establishment of British power. So during the countryside, that means village sides in rural areas, how the life changed. Okay, in the fourth lesson also you have learnt ruling the countryside, third chapter, and fourth side tribals Dikus. So in the third chapter you have learnt during what were the situations, how it changed the colonialism, changed the situation of lives of countryside people. What happened to the cities during the same period? So if the situation is like that in the countryside, what was the condition of town people? The answer will depend on the kind of town or city we are discussing. So here also the situation also depends upon the city, the kind of town or city we are discussing, what type of town it was. So it depends on that. The history of a temple town like Madurai will not be the same as that of a manufacturing town like Dhaka or a port like Surat, are towns that simultaneously served many different functions. So here you see children, temple town. Which was the temple town? Madurai in Tamil Nadu. So many temples were there. That's why this Madurai town was called as temple town. And a manufacturing town like Dhaka, Bangladesh capital Dhaka. Earlier it was joined with our India only, but now it separated to another country. So here manufacturing town, that means here so many factories are there, they manufactured things. That's why this town was known as manufacturing town. And at the same time here port town, or a port town like Surat. Port town means in Surat, Gujarat. Okay, in Gujarat this Surat is there, where there is coastal area and it's a famous port there. So Madurai's condition is separate to Dhaka's, and at the same time Dhaka is separate to Surat. That means on which type of town it was. So the condition also here varies to one town to other town. And all these towns, they simultaneously served many different functions. So here all these towns are very famous those times. In most parts of the Western world, modern cities emerged with industrialization. In most parts of the Western world, modern cities emerged with industrialization. That means in all the cities, industries they started making things. In Britain, industrial cities like Leeds and Manchester grew rapidly in the 19th and 20th centuries. So in the 19th century and 20th century, which cities in Britain? Leeds and Manchester. These two cities grown as industrial cities. As more and more people sought jobs, housing and other facilities in these places. So in this Leeds and Manchester, two cities, many people they got jobs, and housing, all of them got, many of them got, not all, many of them got housing facilities. And at the same time, and other facilities in these places, remaining other whatever the facilities people needed, all these facilities they got in Leeds and Manchester. Where are these two cities? In Britain. However, unlike Western Europe, Indian cities did not expand as rapidly in the 19th century. So unlike Western Europe, Indian cities, unlike here city, that means Western Europe part developed, but Indian cities did not expand as rapidly. So comparing to those Western cities, Indian cities not that much grown in 19th century. Why was this so? Why? What situations led to this non-developing? Let's see. In the late 18th century, Calcutta, Bombay and Madras rose in importance as presidency cities. In 19th century, our three cities, what are they? Calcutta, West Bengal, Bombay, Maharashtra, Mumbai, and Madras, that means Tamil Nadu, Chennai. Okay, present name Chennai. So all these three cities, they developed as presidency cities. They became the centers of British power in the different regions of India. So these three, Calcutta, Bombay and Madras, they became the centers of British power. At the same time, a host of smaller cities declined. So as these three cities developed, at the same time, remaining small cities, whatever they declined. Declined means their famous declined. Their importance declined, reduced. Many towns manufacturing specialized goods declined due to a drop in the demand for what they produced. So here, what was the reason they are giving for this declination? They are saying that these manufacturing towns, whatever the goods they have produced, for them there was no demand. There was nobody to buy them. That's why all these manufacturing towns, there was no one who was going to those towns, and at the same time their income and their importance also got down. Old trading centers and ports could not survive when the flow of trade moved to new centers. And here you have to see, old trading centers and ports could not survive. These trading centers and ports, earlier which cities were served as trading centers and ports, they have not survived when the flow of trade moved to new centers. This is trade. That means here this business shifted to new centers. That's why for these old centers there was not that much importance there, and they could not survive. Similarly, earlier centers of regional power collapsed when local rulers were defeated by the British and new centers of administration emerged. So how the trade shifted to new cities? Here the regional power centers also, those old centers, they collapsed, and new centers, that means ruling also changed to new places. Why? Because here why ruling centers changed? Because all the local rulers, they were defeated by the British. Britishers, they got the power. They succeeded and they occupied those places, and regional power, in those places British power emerged. British administration emerged. This process is often described as de-urbanization. This process is called as de-urbanization. So that means ruling changed and new rulers coming. Okay, this is called as de-urbanization. Cities such as Machilipatnam, Surat and Seringapatam were de-urbanized during the 19th century. So here Machilipatnam, Surat and Seringapatam. Seringapatam, you know, children, this is in Madras, Tipu Sultan's capital city, Seringapatam. All these three cities were de-urbanized during the 19th century. So this de-urbanization happened in these three cities. That means rulers changed and the British occupied those territories. By the early 20th century, only 11% of Indians were living in cities. So by the early 20th century, when the 20th century came, earlier centuries, only 11% people, 11% of, and that means remaining all 89%, they used to live in villages, but only 11%. Why? There was no work, there was no industrialization, no jobs were there. That's why many people used to live in villages only. Okay, when the 20th century came, and that means here the situation changed, de-urbanization happened. That's why this, by the 20th century, earlier 20th century, only 11% people used to live in cities. So here they have given a picture, children. See, this was the picture. What is this? Bombay. Bombay port in the 18th century. The city of Bombay began to grow when the East India Company started using Bombay as its main port in western India. So earlier what they said, Surat was the port town. But here the Britishers, they used this Bombay port for the trade. That's why the importance for this Bombay developed much. This was the picture. Now let's see. The historic imperial city of Delhi became a dusty provincial town in the 19th century before it was rebuilt as the capital of British India after 1912. So, earlier Delhi served as the capital city under the Mughal Empire. But after the Britishers came, its famous little bit got down. And afterwards, after this 1912 only, again they made the this Delhi as capital. Let us look at the history of Delhi to see what happened to its under colonial rule. So, what was the condition? How the Britishers changed the Delhi as capital city? We are going to learn. Now, let's see. How many Delhis before New Delhi? You know, Delhi as the capital of modern India. Did you also know that it has been a capital for more than 1,000 years? Okay, already what is the capital of India? It's a New Delhi. But earlier, 1,000 years ago also, this was served as capital city. Although with some gaps. That means sometimes capital city changed, but many times it served as capital city. Let's see. As many as 14 capital cities were founded in a small area of about 60 square miles on the left bank of the river Jamuna. So, here how many capital cities were the historians found? 14 capital cities. 14 capital cities were founded in a small area of about 60 square miles. In the 60 square miles area, there were historians found 14 capital cities. The remains of all other capitals may be seen on a visit to the modern city state of Delhi. So, remaining other capitals, we can see them on the modern city of state of Delhi. Of these, the most important are the capital cities built between the 12th and 17th century. See children, here they have given the picture Shahjahanabad. Okay, down it will come. Let's see. So, these all, what were the capital cities which constructed between the 12th and 17th century? Between those only very much important. The most splendid capital of all was built by Shah Jahan. So, in those capital cities, which was special? That was built by Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan constructed one capital city of Delhi that was most important comparing to all other 13. Shahjahanabad was began in 1639 and consisted of a fort palace complex and the city adjoining it. So, see children, this is Shahjahanabad. So, this is Red Fort. Okay, and here adjoining city. And all this town was surrounded by compound walls. See, on this compound wall, everything. This total city, this capital city was surrounded by compound wall. This is river Jamuna. Okay, river Jamuna. This is Red Fort. It will be given down. Let's see. Okay. So, fort palace and city adjoining it. Okay, this is Shahjahanabad. Let's see here matter. And Shahjahanabad was began in 1639 and consisted of a fort palace complex and the city adjoining it. I shown you now. Lal Killa or the Red Fort made of red sandstone. This Red Fort was made up of red sandstone. Contained the palace complex. Okay, palace. Palace was there. Red Fort was the palace of the kings. To its west lay the walled city. Okay, west side the walled city. West side the walled city was there now. Here, this was the west side. With 14 gates, the main streets of Chandni Chowk and Faiz Bazaar were broad enough for royal processions to pass. So, here the bazaars and the roads also, how much big they are saying to us. Next, a canal ran down the center of Chandni Chowk. So, from the center of this Chandni Chowk, a canal also ran down. Canal was also going. Next. Set amidst densely packed mohallas and several dozen bazaars, the Jama Masjid was among the largest and grandest mosques in India. So, here, how was this Shahjahanabad? This was amidst densely packed mohallas. Mohallas means streets. All the streets were densely packed, and densely packed means so many people used to live. That means the town was full of people. And several dozen bazaars. There were so many bazaars. And in that, the Jama Masjid was among the largest and grandest mosques in India. In India, till there, how many mosques? In that, this, which was constructed by Shah Jahan, the Jama Masjid only was the grandest mosque. There was no place higher than this mosque within the city then. So, by the time, there was no other building taller to this Jama Masjid. That means Jama Masjid was the only one, the tallest. Delhi during Shah Jahan's time was also an important center of Sufi culture. So, here Sufi culture also developed very much. Next, it had several dargahs, kankhas and eidgahs. Okay, dargahs, kankhas and eidgahs. Dargah means here the tomb of Sufi saint. Here they have given children, see, the tomb of a Sufi saint. Dargah means the tomb of a Sufi saint. Kankha. Kankha means a Sufi lodge, often used as a rest house for travelers and a place where people come to discuss spiritual matters, get the blessings of saints and hear Sufi music. That means Kankha means it served as a lodge and at the same time rest house for travelers. In those olden days, it was a rest house for travelers. That means by the evening time they used to stay in these rest houses, and here people use it to discuss the spiritual matters, religious matters, and the saints also use it to stay in these, and common people come to take these blessings from these saints, and often they hear Sufi music also. Next, Eidgah. Eidgah means an open prayer place of Muslims primarily meant for Eid prayers. Eid, maybe Ranjan. Okay, by the time for Eid prayers, Muslims they used to do prayers common now all together. So for these Eidgahs were meant for these open prayers. Next, Cul-de-sac, street with a dead end. That means street with a dead end. That means from there no connectivity to other roads, like that. Let's see. Open squares, winding lanes, quiet cul-de-sacs and water channels were the pride of Delhi residents. So, with all these facilities, all these were the pride of the Delhi residents. That means people proudly used to say, we are having these many facilities in our city. No wonder the poet Mir Taqi Mir said, the streets of Delhi aren't mere streets, they are like the album of a painter. That means the poet saying that here all these streets and construction of the city was looking like a paint by those time. Yet, even this was no ideal city and its delights were enjoyed only by some. There were sharp divisions between rich and poor. So, by that time also, all these facilities were enjoyed by only the rich people. By that time also, there were divisions, sharp divisions between rich and poor people. Havelis or mansions were interspersed with the far more numerous mud houses of the poor. So, by the time, rich people used to serve in one place and poor people used to live in other places. That means rich people's locality and poor people's locality were separated. The colorful world of poetry and dance was usually enjoyed only by men. So, this poetry and dance was permitted to men only. Furthermore, celebrations and processions often led to serious conflicts. So, these processions and celebrations, whenever they were conducted, by the time, some serious conflicts also happened. And then, here they have given the pictures, see children, the shrine of Nizamuddin Aulia in Delhi, and this was the eastern gate of the Jama Masjid, eastern gate in Delhi by Thomas Daniel in 1795. So, he has taken that picture. Next, the making of New Delhi. I will explain this in the next video, children. I hope till now you understood the content. Thank you. Have a nice day.